What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dead Funny Review Show. I'm your host, Chris. Joined today is my co-host, JoJo. And we're here to talk about Final Fantasy Intergrade. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. For those of you who watched the... oh my god. Verdict, thank you. I don't know why, but I had validation on my mind. I was like, what the fuck? Verdict. Anyways, so those of you who watched the Verdict episode, appreciate you coming over to check this out. As I said, I want to get this right off the top. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. This is the show where we hold nothing back. So if you want to know about the game before you play it, great, stay. If you don't and you want to play it first, might want to leave. That being said, so to catch everybody else up, for people who don't play Final Fantasy but just like to hear the stuff, because we do have those kind of viewers out there. I've talked to a couple of you in comments, and some of you have actually picked up Final Fantasies based off my recommendations, which I'm super excited about, including
good. Then we're making a difference in the world.
We're making a difference in the world. We are getting people into a great franchise. And I had a Discord conversation with some Darkstar members last night that don't pertain to Final Fantasy VII, but pertain to Final Fantasy 16 that I want to run by you at the end of this and get your thoughts on. Yeah, it was a really fun conversation that we were having, and they said something that I was like, I don't know if this would be true or not. So, anyways, we'll get into that a little bit later, but right now, let's dive into Intergrade. So, Intergrade. For those of you who don't know, Intergrade's the PS5 updated version of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Intergrade, why it's so big right now, is because it gives you the chance to buy the DLC for $20 to play Yuffie Kisaragi, who is an optional character in the first one, but she is considered part of the main team. And by main team, I'm talking about the entire cast of 9. So, with that being said, because she was optional, she didn't have a story in the original game. So Square Enix had a lot of different avenues that they could realistically go. Bullet point here for the original game, any forest you went into, you would fight what was called the Mysterious Ninja. And you knew it was her because it looked like her. And then after you beat her, the cool thing about Yuffie that a lot of people liked was that there were options and things that you could reply back to her that she would say to you. Depending on what options you chose the outcome on whether or not you would actually be able to obtain Yuffie. That was the big deal. Because there were certain options where she would ask something and it would cause you to like pull up your inventory screen, and whenever you brought it back down, she would be gone and you'd be missing some gil. There was also a spot where there was like just a random save point. If you went up to the save point before going over there and talking to her and harassing her, she would wake up, or you would come out of the save screen, she would be gone, and you'd be missing some gil. And you do not get that gil back when she joins the team, BT Dubs. That does not happen. So, yeah. Basically, as a little cheat code for you, if you're playing the original because you're trying to get caught up because you want to play the remake and kind of see what the differences are, just act like you don't care about Yuffie. That's the best way to get her on the team without all this other bullshit. If you beat her, act like you don't care. She's gonna ask you to a fight if you're doing Cloud, and just be like, "Yeah, I don't care." It's just that because that pisses her off, and she wants to prove herself that she could beat you, and then you just walk away, and then she's like, "Well, hold on, wait for me," and then she joins the team. That being said, the thing everybody hates about Yuffie is that sooner or later you're gonna find yourself on this awesome little island called Wutai. And she's going to steal every single piece of materia that you have acquired up to this point in the game. For people like me who are OCD, I even go as far as to organize my materia by color and by letter. Yes, I do that 100%. Okay. By color and by letter. My stuff is organized in my inventory. I was actually streaming one night, and I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I got enough materia. I can organize it now. And people were watching me, and they're like, can you do something else? Because it's really not that fun to sit here and watch you organize your inventory. Yeah, I'm OCD, so it gets to me. Anyway, so that being said, when you find... So you got to do a lot of battles, and all these battles you have to do without your materia. When she finally rejoins your team, because she gets into a fight with her dad, and she goes and fights him at the Tower of Power, which is this whole shebang where it's all of Wu Tai's greatest warriors, and he's the last one, and you have to fight him. Which, once again, because I'm giving you sage advice here for this fucking game, ribbon. I can't say that enough. Go to the ancient temple before you go to Wu Tai. Get ribbon. You would think that it's a stupid piece of armor, but let me tell you, it's the best armor in the fucking game. Negates all status effects. Toad, mini, sleep, poison, all of them. All of them. Burn, freeze, doesn't matter. Doesn't get it the fuck out of here. Confused, doesn't matter. Literally cannot do a single status effect. Because that's all her dad does. Is status effect after status effect after status effect. Dude's a dick. Anyways, so ribbon, because you can't fight with your whole team. You only go in with Yuffie. So ribbon. Anyways, so that being said, when she joins your team after that, she gives you all your materia back. Except it does not go back the way that she stole it. It's all in a random order. Square Enix did that on purpose to piss people off. 100%. They've even claimed that they've done it to piss people off. So there might have been materia you had on Cloud that's now on Tifa or now on Red 13 or Vincent or whoever. And randomly throughout your inventory, it's a fucking nightmare. And I just know they're going to fucking do it again in this fucking remake. And I'm going to be so fucking mad. Oh. But that being said, so that kind of wraps up Yuffie. Like, literally, I'm not joking. That is Yuffie's story in the original. There's nothing else to it. So, like I said, Square Enix had a lot of different ways they can go. The last thing I kind of want to run over right quick before we start jumping into our thoughts and views on Intergrade is the Dirge of Cerberus. Dirge of Cerberus was a single-player game made about Vincent Valentine. It was more of a shooter. It was not a typical Final Fantasy game at all. And the reason we got it was because so many people fell in love with the character of Vincent, but we didn't know anything about it. So Square Enix got together and gave us Dirge of Cerberus, which was supposed to talk a lot more about a story, which it did. A lot of shit made sense. I will definitely say this, as much as all the deep ground shit was weird, Vincent's actual story did not break anything from the original. So it was pretty dead on. Hojo being Sephiroth's dad, impregnating Lucrezia being Sephiroth's mom, who was Vincent's first lover. Then Hojo kills Vincent. Lucrezia wants to keep him alive because she feels bad because the original bodyguard before Vincent got there was actually his father, which she did not tell him. It was like all this shit. His dad looked like fucking Van Helsing, dude. Like, literally, like the outfit and shit he wore, he looked like fucking Van Helsing. He looked badass, which is fucking awesome considering the fact that whenever you're Vincent in the beginning of it and you're doing all this bodyguard shit, you're just dressed as a Turk because Vincent was a Turk. He was part of the Turks. Yeah. So
just a digression real quick. Is Vincent like literally a vampire? Does he do
Vincent is not a vampire.
Okay.
Vincent is not a vampire. The reason Vincent is rumored to be a vampire is because, one, you find him in a coffin.
Yes.
And two, and the reason we're talking about Vince is because he's the other optional character, but he actually has story in the original game as well. Just not as much. Two, he literally will live forever. And the reason why is because whenever he was shot and killed by Hojo, before he officially died, Lucrezia was able to revive him with a very experimental surgery where she actually connected materia into his vital organs, mainly his heart.
Okay.
That's the chaos materia. That's what keeps him alive. That's what keeps him moving, which we already knew because that's how he transforms, his chaos materia. Yeah. So whenever he gets to those aggravated states or those panic states where his body feels something's going to go the way that he doesn't want it to go, he can then tap into that extra energy with all that blood pumping and stuff, the materia and everything else. He can then use the chaos materia to transform into these forms that we have, which I hope to God Square Enix does something better than the Hellraiser one we had where he wore a Jason mask and ran around with a chainsaw. That was probably one of the worst Vincent transformations of all time. Was Hellmasker, I think is what it was actually called. Because there was the first one where he turned into kind of like a behemoth, but on 2 feet. Like I
think that's why there was that one. In my mind.
Yeah, and then there was the Hellmasker where he had the fucking stupid... Well, that was actually the third transformation. The second one was the Frankenstein one where he's the big Frankenstein monster. Yeah, I think it was like Gigabeast or something like that. And then there was the Hellmasker where he literally was wearing a Jason-style mask and long hair and then a fucking chainsaw.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that's
yeah,
really funny.
yeah. And then
Uh,
there was, which by the way, they left both the Giga Beast and Hellmasker out of Dirge Cerberus. He turns
'Cause
into the first one.
cowards.
Yep, he turns into the first one, and he also turns into the last one, which is the ultimate embodiment of chaos, which he looks all fucking cool and demonic vampire and shit. Yeah, like Chaos in Final Fantasy VII versus Chaos in Dirge of Cerberus. Chaos in Dirge of Cerberus looks amazing. If you haven't seen what Vincent
Oh, I
looks
see.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
he looks fucking amazing. I love that concept art film. It's fucking beautiful.
You know, they have done so far a pretty good job of including all the really goofy stuff from the first game, from the original, in the remake. So I bet he will still somehow
Hellmasker is
transform
still
into
going to show
a
up.
chainsaw.
I would rather it be something where like he gets out of the coffin and he's going to walk and you see him take a look to his right and there's like some of his possessions and then you see that mask and he's like, nah, I don't need it, and then he just walks out. You know, like a little nod to the old school fans, but like, oh, there's Hellmasker. Thank God it's not in the game. That was such a stupid transformation. Oh my God.
Part of the charm of that game to me is still like the weird PS1 era. Just I don't know. We can't make good character models, so here's a chainsaw guy. He
Exactly.
translated this poorly, so this robot you're gonna fight is named Proud Claude.
Yeah, Proud Cloud.
Whatever.
Well, I mean, there's so many of those too, like with the Aerith famous saying of "this guy are
The
sick."
guy are sick. The
With
classic
fucking
Midgar Zolom was supposed to
yeah,
be a horse thing.
yep, exactly. And the fact that Tifa dropped the word retard too in the original game, and they didn't put
Yeah,
that into the remake once they climb up the
about
stairs.
that.
Yeah, they didn't drop that one in there, which I mean, is what it is. And then you got, I wonder if they're gonna have Cloud use the word Mosey. That was such a big deal when he
I
used it
hope
in the
so.
original.
I
Yeah,
I just like saying that.
yeah. Let's
Just like
mosey
leading from
on.
it. Let's mosey.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. And then obviously, I'm just glad the Aerith and Eris debate is dead. Like finally, like fucking a. Like if it wasn't enough, we had it in the movie. Everybody's like, in the remake, you'll see her name is Eris, and then everybody called her Aerith, and it was like, thank fucking God that debate's
Yeah,
gone.
they had pretty well established it because they
Yes.
did off stuff.
And there's still people that's all like, "That's not my Aerith." I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Just stop. Just stop. Like,
Back when whatever Advent Children came out, I was on the team of let's keep calling her Eris because Aerith sounded like I had a lisp. I'll do anyway. So it was just like leaning into that. But now it's been so long and so many
yeah.
other things have come out. Like it's
I guess
Aerith,
my
I
whole
get it.
issue with it is like, how are you going to argue with the people who created it? You know what I mean? Like, it would be different if, like, like it wasn't like it was a normal person, and you could be like, oh, well, your name should be this. That I mean, you still can't even argue at that point because it's like,
It was
well,
like
your parents knew
objectively,
how they
yeah,
wanted to name you.
they meant it to
So,
be Aerith, but like sometimes these games have different. They just let the character names be different in Japan and America.
oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
Nintendo still calls Bowser Koopa
Yep,
in Japan, and it's like, what? Do you not standardize this?
yep,
So,
exactly. So
that
that's
happened.
fair. But yeah, so basically, as I was saying, Dirge Cerberus, game about Vincent. You got the whole Deep Ground stuff, which is the reason why I bring this up. Deep Ground is basically a under Shinra establishment that they had made to kind of facilitate some more weapons that were more human based type weapons, and it was supposed to be like very secure and away from any kind of public eyes, so it's deep underneath Shinra. And that was like the whole premise of Dirge of Cerberus, was like after it closed they were trying to find answers, as if to, I guess the premise of the movie is they're dealing with geostigma, which is that new virus that everybody has, and they're wondering why they have it. Everybody seems to think that it's Shinra's fault that they have geostigma. So now that Shinra is no longer a company, the building is still there, even though Meteor destroyed a shit ton of it, and a lot of the people who ran Shinra are considered dead. But we find out in the movie that Rufus is very much alive, just in hiding. They break open deeper into the Shinra building, like the public does, like reporters and
Okay.
shit. And that's how Deep Ground gets figured out about, and they all start escaping out, and then go to fucking, basically, Weiss is the leader, who we saw in the game, the white haired guy. Weiss
Yeah,
is the
right.
leader and basically wants to, take shit over. And then they find out about Hojo still being alive through the internet. and
Yeah.
yeah, can just fucking do what he wants to do apparently. So yeah. So basically, if you wondered why Vincent had such a grudge against Hojo, that would be why. Not only did he shoot him and kill him, but he also stole the love of his life and impregnated her with the monster that we all know and love, Sephiroth. So,
Yeah. I realized when I looked up that deep ground and stuff, this is a thing I think Nomura really likes is the concept of like, what if there's a group of villains who all have like just here's a bunch of weird guys that each have their own one distinctive power thing. Here's the red guy, here's the blue guy, and then Kingdom Hearts has the one where it's just Organization 13. Here's guy with water power, guy
yeah.
with fire power.
Yep.
You can see
Because there's people that we did not see in this DLC
right there's a
that
red
were
guy
in
and a
Dirge.
blue one.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a chick. Yeah, the red chick Crimson.
That's a red,
Yep.
yeah, and the blue dude who had like a Gatling gun or something.
Yeah, the big
Like,
guy. Yeah, you see him
yeah,
a
and then
lot in fucking Dirge of Cerberus. A
the
lot.
invisible girl or something, transparent girl. I don't know what
Oh, you're talking about
girl is.
Shulk?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
She actually ends up turning to be like a good person. Like Vincent wants to save her in the game. And she has by far probably one of the worst Final Fantasy characters ever to exist in
Oh
all
wow,
of Final Fantasy. And that's coming
that's
from someone who is a diehard 7 fan, and this is part of the 7 universe. I fucking hate Shulk.
a
Worst
powerful
character
statement.
ever created.
Yeah,
Ever created. And they put her in fucking World of Final Fantasy 2, and I was like,
that's what
fucking
I was just trying to
why?
look that up because I was like, I remember that loosely
Yep.
remember that character. Yeah, that's why.
World of Final Fantasy. Yep, she was in the room with like all the VVs and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But which by the way, we'll talk about it more on the podcast. But I don't know if you saw it or not. Did you see they're making an animated series
About nine.
about
Yeah.
9?
Wild.
Yes, dude. I mean, to be
It'll be
fair,
good.
for them to want to get younger audiences into it, 9 makes the most sense. I mean,
Yeah,
it
like if
absolutely
they
makes the own sense.
something like age range 8 to 13. If they tend more toward the 13 end of that,
Well,
like
they said it's still going to be good for adults as well. Like they're like
yeah,
adults for who are fans of Final Fantasy will still be able to watch this and be like, oh well, this is still something that is technically geared towards me.
yeah, and that's totally. I mean, that's a game I played when I was 12 or something,
God,
probably
yes, dude.
10.
Yeah, well, they made all the characters short to make them feel like they were toys. I didn't know that until I was watching a interview where they talked about it. And they're like, yeah, we wanted to get a younger audience in, so we figured we'll make all the character models shorter to make it feel like they're playing with toys almost. I was like, it's interesting. Didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it works. Yeah, that's a good choice.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how that goes. But so yeah, so that's kind of the breakdown of Deep Ground. In this one, we got to see 2 of the characters of Deep Ground, and I personally feel, we'll get more into it, but I personally feel that this was a great way to give Yuffie another reason to fight Deep Ground other than I'm just going to go because Vincent's going. Because some of you might not know this, but it's very big in the community. Whenever Final Fantasy VII first came out, for some reason everybody wanted to ship Yuffie and Vincent. Maybe because they were both the fucking optional characters and that's the only correlation that the fucking fans had to want to drive that boat. But that was the fucking ship that sailed, was Yuffie and Vincent. 100% Yuffie and Vincent. So Yuffie was all up Vincent's ass the entire Dirge of Cerberus, and we have our classic Vincent of I don't care about anything else because I'm Vincent. So yeah, very interesting, and not to mention he's deeply in love with a woman who is crystallized right now. So yeah, there's that. She's just
Sure.
sitting in a cave in a crystal, alive. So yeah, it's weird. Never got that
Yeah.
either. But it is what it is. Anyways, Final Fantasy VII is weird, but it's a great fucking story. You should look into it. So, that being said, here we are with Intergrade. So, yeah. I enjoyed pretty much almost everything about it. We obviously talked about it on the verdict, but now to kind of deeper dive into stuff, her introduction into Midgar felt very smooth to me. Like, very smooth. I had zero issues with how we transitioned from her being this Wutai spy directly into getting to know the Avalanche team, all that fun stuff. As I kind of mentioned on the verdict, and I said I'd talk about more here, I'm super glad we saw Genova clones because that helps tie her into the story before she actually gets into the story. So at least give her
Yeah.
some reference. I I liked what they did with a lot of the stuff. We talked about the turtle bar. We talked about the happy turtle. We talked about the the chow beans. Fort Condor. Fort Condor. Man, dude, Fort Condor was so good. I can't wait to go back and beat Chatley's ass. Fort Condor was so good. Oh my god, it was so good. But
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty. It felt like I don't know. I never like lost after like if like the AI wasn't that good or something.
the only one I
Like,
lost to was Johnny my first time, and that was solely due to the fact that I didn't know that I could like get more pieces besides winning them. So I wasn't buying any. And
oh,
I had like a terrible board. I was still running the original board. So like, he was being able to like pump out like 5 units by the time I pumped out like
yeah,
three.
right. As long as you have
So
the
if you have the number,
tool.
you're gonna win. Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
getting the number out quicker, you're gonna win. So
because really, I mean, most of what it comes down to is just let them make the first move. See, like, oh, they did it's rock paper scissors, except you get to wait to see what your opponent's hand is.
exactly,
It's still cool. It's still like a neat thing. Like,
Oh yeah, especially considering whenever you look at the original. The original looked like shit, very clunky, and was very
yeah,
hard to understand exactly what it was you were doing. And it was one of those things where it got a lot more easier for people to be like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just let Shinra come up the hill, and then it will force me to fight them as Cloud and my team, and then I'll just beat the fuck out of whoever it is, and then bam, we can move on. I think that's why a lot of people didn't like Fort Condor, because one, that was the only thing you could do there, and then two, it was like the game was kind of void with the fact that if you lost, you were going to fight with Cloud and them to win anyway. So there was no actual losing. You were always going to win.
right.
Yeah, it didn't matter. And this made that game something different in its own entirety that gives players the option to do something else in the game, which I would be surprised if it doesn't, but I hope translates into part two, where you can then do something where there's going to be achievements or trophies or whatever the hell PlayStation calls it, where you can go around and battle people at different cities and shit, multiple people at different cities, and try to fucking win specific part or pieces, and battle all the different people. I'm sure it was like that with Triple Triad and shit, where it's like beat everybody who can do Triple Triad and shit like that. So
I don't remember. Okay, the order of the plot. Like, do you think the golden saucer is in the next part, or is that going to be too far in the future?
So it depends. I personally think that they should have Golden Saucer be part 3. I
Okay.
think part 2 should be the rest of the part of the continent that we're on. And this is perfect. This is perfect because I have this fucking map right here
Oh,
for people. Okay. So right now we are in Midgar. We're moving to Calm. Then we're going to move all the way over to the Chocobo farm to the Mithril Mines. We'll go through there and we'll hit right over here is Fort Condor. But we're going to Junon. Gold Saucer's over here. So we should end on the boat ride to Costa del Sol. Or Costa
okay.
del Sol up here. That's where I think part 2 should end. Is when we get to Costa del Sol. Because we'll then have another Genova fight under our belt at that point. Because we fight Genova on the boat, remember?
Yeah.
To Costa del Sol. Then after we hit Costa del Sol is when we go to North Corral and we learn Barrett's backstory, which then takes us to the Golden Saucer and we get K-Sith.
Okay, so if they end there though, how many parts of this game do you think they're breaking it into?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's going to be probably, and they already said that if they want to do longer, more deep dives into the places, it's going to be a lot of parts. It could end up turning out to be 7 parts. 7 parts to 7. That could very well fucking happen, which I'd be completely fine with. 100% okay with. But you got to think about it. I mean, even back in the day, that was a 3-disc game. So even if they did just do 3 parts, I mean, there are some things that, they can definitely speed up.
It's like we're not at the end of disc. That's what I'm thinking. Is like this second part. If this isn't going to be a million parts, needs to like get to where Aerith dies.
Yeah, well, when Aerith dies, that is officially the transition into the second disc. Yes, exactly. And we didn't even come close to that in the first
maybe
part of
this
this.
gets to be 4 parts because if I remember, like the third disc is pretty short. I think
The third disc was basically giving you access to Emerald Weapon, Ruby Weapon, and Safer Sephiroth. That's basically all the third disc was. That's literally all it was.
If they can
Other
get
than
that
that, the
far,
second
then
disc was
maybe 4
basically it.
parts.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we'll see. Because I mean, I would be okay with part 2, like I said, ending at Junon, and that's with them expanding things. Then part
yeah.
3, we would do Costa del Sol, which there's not much there. We would do North Corral. We would do Golden Saucer. And then after Golden Saucer, we would do Cosmo Canyon. I think we would be smart to end part 3 there, because then we've gotten Kate's story. We've gotten, well, not really Kate's story. That's the second time we go to the Gold Saucer. We've gotten Barrett's story, and we've gotten Red 13's story. After Cosmo Canyon, you go to Gungaga. Or no, you go to Gungaga, then Cosmo Canyon. So even better. So yeah, still ending at Cosmo Canyon. After Cosmo Canyon, you go to Nibelheim. You will get Vincent's story. You go into the mountains. We get the whole Genova shit and the flashbacks of Sephiroth. Then we leave there and go to Rocket Town. We get Sid. And then we crash onto Wutai, do Wutai, then end there. Then after that, we can fit the rest of the game on the last one. Because then you're going to go to the ancient forest, then you're going to, or the ancient city, ancient temple of the ancients, Gold Saucer for the date scene.
Oh.
No. The date scene happens first before that, because the Kates sacrifices himself, and that was like his redeeming quality. Because in the Gold Saucer, he reveals to you that he's a spy working for Shinra, and that he has Marlene kidnapped. Now everybody was like, "Oh well, fuck Kate Sith. I don't like Kate Sith anymore. I love Kate Sith. He's great." Anyways, so Gold Saucer, where we get the date scene, fantastic, amazing. Temple of the Ancients. Then from there, it is gonna be a hike back to, or then we go all the way north after that, because that's whenever Aerith dies in the ancient forest. And then after that, it's literally basically we do the storm on Midgar, take down Sapphire Weapon, fight Ultima Weapon, then we go north to the Icicle Inn, and then all the way down to the Northern Crater to fight Safer Sephiroth. We got a lot of game left. There's expansion.
Sure.
We have a lot of game left. Of game left.
It's like 3 hours of the original game.
That doesn't even include like all the extra shit, like, you know, doing the sunken Galinkin, doing any of the weapons besides the 2 they make you do in the game, which is Sapphire, or not Sapphire, Diamond and Ultima, because then you do Emerald and Ruby are the 2 that they added into the American version of the game to make the game harder. Then you have Goblin Island and Cactar Island. You also have all the secret materials around, including in the Old Man's Cave, not to mention all the shit you can do at the Golden Saucer, like Chocobo Racing and everything else. It's a lot of shit, man. It's a lot of shit left. So, yeah, I'm excited. A lot of parts to come through. And some of this stuff realistically could be DLC. I mean, I say that I'd rather the main story stay on the disc and DLC be stuff where it's like filling in the expanded universe into the game. I figured that would be better for DLC. Like, I would love for them to turn Crisis Core into like a fucking 10 chapter DLC download.
Oh,
where you get to live out all the Zack shit, you know? Like, so that way it doesn't take away from the main game. Before Crisis, there really wasn't enough content there for that to be anything besides conversations in the game anyway. So that should just be is what it is. Maybe like if we get some more, like whenever it's like behind the closed doors and the Turks are talking about shit, maybe we get to see some flashbacks and stuff like that. That would make more sense versus actually having playable DLC of Before Crisis, because I don't think it's worth it. And then obviously, you know, it's going to be weird to see how things add up with the end of the game if they don't go into the movie, considering the fact Dirge of Cerberus takes place after that. So that'll be weird. We'll have to just wait and see how that plays out. But Crisis Core would be great DLC additions, in my opinion. And then like other things that we could do to tell more story about Vincent would also be great DLC additions, in my opinion.
Yes. I think like if Vincent's not a guy you get in the next part of the game, presumably,
right,
then doing it like they did with Yuffie here, just make the DLC for that game a Vincent story. That'd be great. Like, just a story with not a character who's playable yet. You don't have to deal with like the levels of your party and
right, exactly.
Standalone.
Because they could literally end it right when he gets in the coffin, and then bam, the next game could be when we go to Nibelheim and open up the fucking coffin and get Vincent. 100%.
And then the third one's DLC is you playing as Zack
That'd be
in
so
whatever the
sweet,
fuck
dude.
is going on with Zack.
Right.
Just
Right.
figure out what's happening with Zack
Okay,
between all
we're
these
all
cutscenes
ready
of
to
Zack
figure out what the fuck is happening
hanging
with
out.
Zach. But yeah, so like I said, her introduction was great. She fit right in. They kept her character the exact same. That was great. So now to get past all the beating around the bush shit, let's jump straight into stuff. Sonon dies.
Yeah.
Sonon dies. He does not make it out.
I assumed that would happen just
I
based
did
on
too.
him existing
100%.
and then not existing later.
So Sonon dies. With that death, I think that there was not enough time to build him as a character for anyone to really give a shit. Like they really tried hard to hit you with the whole like whenever his sister is trying to get him to eat the bean and he's like, damn it,
Yeah.
because he can't actually bite through it and all that other shit. Like it was cool scenes and it was cool to see him have a reason to want to be there versus it's just a Wu-Tai mission. Like he wanted to fight Scarlet. He wanted to make her pay for the death of his sister. I will say this. The forced I'm going to look out for you like you're my little sister relationship was odd because of Yuffie's interactions with it. Like when they were on the train and she's like, and I'm not your sister. It was just out of nowhere. So out of nowhere. And I understand where she's coming from to an extent. I just don't think that they've relayed that enough to the fans that haven't played the original. Because in the original, her dad was a dick and constantly treated her like a little kid. She would never amount to anything, mainly because she was a girl and not a boy. That she was not his son. She was not going to be a warrior, a great warrior Wutai, which is why she set out to be the skilled ninja she is now. Without having all that backstory, she sounds crazy just be like, I'm not your sister and shit like that. But when you have that backstory, that's what she's used to.
They mention a few times how her dad is like drinking all the time and is like shitty.
Right, but still, I mean, without like, if they would have done a flashback or two, it would have been perfect.
It seemed a little. They made that guy's sister look just like
Yuffie.
I was just reusing the Yuffie model they made.
Yeah,
like
100%.
It's too much.
100%. If they would have shown a flashback or two of Godo being a dick to Yuffie, I think that would have helped solidify that a little bit more.
Yeah. But yeah.
Once again, for new players, people who played the original, we know. Yeah, unless you played the original and you didn't get Yuffie, then you don't know.
The scene where Sonam died was like, it was emotionally effective, I felt, but like also because it was well done, it was effective. But like I didn't actually care about Sonam.
No,
like I cared.
I don't think anybody did.
Well executed scene, but the dude was pretty boring. And
I mean, 85% of his dialogue was "Yes, boss."
Right. It was just.
I mean, there literally was nothing to the guy.
Brief discussion about philosophical differences between avalanches or something. And...
Well, my biggest issue that I had with Sonon was like they made him like the buildings of Sonon leading up to his death was for him to be so much more than he was. Like he had all this inside intel on them doing all this other shit inside of Shinra that was fucking over Sector 7 and all. Like, but we never got to figure out one, how he got the information, what he was doing before Yuffie got there, how he has all these connections. Like he even knew where the Happy Turtle was. Like all this shit. Like we didn't know any of that. It was just like, yeah, he's got this information and now he's dead. Like we didn't know any of that. We never got told any of that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just
like how did he get all this?
He was in whatever on Corneo Town or show up, right?
Yeah, so, I know that. I'm just saying, like we didn't get to see that.
The Happy Turtle, I assume, like
right.
That's all. But, there's some other the Wu-Tai and Avalanche people were supposed to have connections, ironically before, right? So like he must just be in on that. Yes.
That's my guess, but it would have been nice if like we would have had something where like, you know, every time she found out a big information, like, you know, we could have it go over to Sonon's face and then do like a quick flashback of like whenever he started figuring out information and shit about, you know, certain things. Or like whenever she talked about dropping the plate, a flashback to him like being in Walmart, talking to people and stuff like that, and then like him hearing whispers about something secret going down on Shinra that's going to affect Sector 7 or something like anything. Literally fucking anything.
I
it was just
thing about the plate.
Go ahead.
EJ told them that. I think we
Whatever
actually
that
see
dude's
them find
fucking
out.
weird name is. Yeah.
Guy, yeah, the guy you're chasing for a while. That
Yeah.
I know that music during the chase, very good. Like the whole sequence where you're following
All
that
their
guy.
music was good. All the
I mean,
music
yeah,
was good
in
this one.
general is good.
Loved it. Happy
That
Turtles.
particularly, I like made a
Fucking
note like, hey,
yeah.
this music right now is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a great job with all the different music. But yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, it just seemed like
Yeah,
he has information, and you should just know that. And then we're never going to like explain why he has it. Because I mean, if I just feel like if he's been in this whole Wu Tai Avalanche thing for a while, for him to just sign up, then that just makes that just makes him even more mysterious on the fact of him just signing up with Yuffie. Why? Are you going to
because he
really tell me
wanted to go
just
to
because
the.
she looks like his little sister, I'm
Well, I think
supposed to just
he wanted to
accept
get in
that?
on this Scarlet deal.
I mean, maybe. Obviously,
Yeah,
there could be but see, that's
yeah.
the problem. If there is a hidden agenda, which isn't really that hidden, we should know a little bit more about how he got the information he got to get to Yuffie in the first
Anyway,
place.
I
You know what I mean?
think you're just glossing over it because like, who cares about this guy anyway?
Right.
I
I
think
know, but I'm saying like if they would have
yeah,
done that, that might not have been the outcome of us. Oh,
maybe.
fuck Sonon. Who cares? So it is what it is. Like I said, I could care less about the guy, but that's because they made it that way for me to give two shits
Yeah,
about the guy. So kind of is what it is. But that being said, I love the Scarlet fight. That was really really cool. Really really
yeah,
well done.
good.
I'm glad that they made her a lot more relevant. And I hope
Sure,
to see
yeah,
her even more relevant as things go on. I would love to see, like, especially when we do the siege on Midgar, which happens way, 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 way late in the original game, where we actually get to see her do more of. I would love to be like in the advanced weapon thing, and it'd be like multiple floors you have to get through, and fucking literally every single one of them be like a fucking death maze that she can have, like, is controlling and shit and has set up. That'd be fucking
yeah.
cool as shit.
Or just
So
also give the other Shinra executives stuff like this too. Like give
yeah.
Heidegger some more time. And,
Although now that I think about it, I
uh,
want to go back. I want to go back through not the original, but the actual remake. I mean, I'm going to anyway because now I have Intergrade. I want to see what the new graphic layout and shit like that looks like. I don't know if I explored Shinra Tower enough because
oh,
when you go through it the first time in the original, you go into a recreation room where there's like a whole bunch of lockers and shit for the people who work there. One of them you open up and Kate Sith's ultimate weapon is in there, but you can't take it in the beginning of the game. And I wonder if like they still have some kind of like Easter egg nod to the fans about that.
probably.
I would say probably, but I just can't remember. I don't remember Shinra Tower all that much, like, which is crazy how many times I've played the remake already, but obviously not enough. So, but they did really well with her seeing the plate fall. I like how they kind of gave her a feeling of responsibility for it, which was really nice because like there was nothing she could have done to stop it. Obviously, I mean, fucking Cloud and them were barely even able to fucking do anything, and they were where they could stop it. And it's just it's very cool that they did so much to give her a reason to fight and do these things because now Sonon is dead, which she's still going to feel responsibility for, even though she didn't know him that well because she wasn't able to fight, and he did it saving her. Like that was the thing. He saved
Yeah.
her. He knew for a fact only one of them was getting out unless he was going to let them both die. And he chose to fucking take the hit so that way she can escape. So that gives her a reason to fight Deep Ground, which I'm excited about. It gives her a reason to fight Scarlet, which in turn is a reason to fight Shinra. Because in the original game, it was just Shinra basically turned Wutai into Tora's place, which, by the way, is a great motive. For her to be like, Wutai was an
Yeah.
amazing place until Shinra made us bow down due to materia. Which makes perfect sense for her wanting to be this great materia hunter and getting all the materia that she can. Perfectly fucking fits in with that. But them giving us even more of a reason for her to fight, I'm all for it. Because at the very end, which we're definitely going to be hitting here in a second, talking about these cutscenes, because that's the main thing people definitely want to hear our views on, these fucking cutscenes. Whenever she's riding that chocobo and she's all like, Yuffie wants you to join her army, and she points at the sky, like that's why I feel like we're going to be getting Yuffie next game. 100%
Yeah.
part two. I feel like it's going to happen like probably right after we leave Com. we're going to end up running into her because she's in the wasteland and Calm is to the left. She looks like she's moving straight. So she's going to come up to those mountains when we have to turn around and hit Chocobo Billy to get those chocobos so we can get over the fucking swamp. There's forest right there in the original map. That's where we can end up finding Yuffie.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to give it a little time before she joins you, actually, because also Red 13 needs to join the party in a
Red 13 needs to join the party, but they're going to have a lot of time because in Calm is whenever we get the first deep dive into Cloud and Sephiroth. Because remember, he tells them how he met Sephiroth. And you know that's going to be a whole big playable moment. You know there's going to be a lot of that shit.
Playable with Red is the point. Red needs to have some amount of...
Right, and he's not going to be in that, exactly. So once you go to leave there, I'm sure it's going to be like you're going to have tons of fights on the way to Chocobo Bills or whatever in order to get across, and then that's when you're going to be able to really play with Red and see how he fucking works and da-da-da-da-da, or for people who get weird about it, Nanaki, whatever you want to call him.
Those two, there's probably, unless we get as far as Bull and Saucer, those two are the only characters who are going to join you, or you would assume.
Right.
It's Red.
Yeah, I'd say this game we're going to get Red, obviously as a playable character, and we're going to get Yuffie, obviously as a playable character. The next game I think is what if they don't hit the gold saucer, next game we'll get Kate Sith, and I don't feel like we should get anybody else in the next one. I think we should get Kate Sith and just call it, like I said, because then we have two major character arcs, Barrett and Nanaki's. Because that's when we learn all about Seto and everything else. I think it's a perfect way to end it is right after that, right before we hit Nibelheim. Then Nibelheim will be able to then finish off the team by getting Vincent and Sid directly afterwards. So then we'll have the full team. Full fucking let's go 9 team. So we get our Dragoon. So yeah. Sid. The man, the myth, the legend. But I can't wait to see Sid. I'm so excited to see Sid. I can't wait to see him just smoking that fucking cigarette, turn around and fucking cussing his ass off.
I bet they find a way
and drink
to
a goddamn tea.
A little Sid cameo in the next part.
You think so?
Just a minor appearance. Well, yeah, because they threw in like a little really arbitrary Kate Sith cameo in the first part where he's just watching that explosion happen.
I mean, it kind of made sense because it's Reeve, and obviously Reeve can't go there because he's gonna die, and Kate Sith is completely fucking expendable.
I just can't that like it just in the moment was so.
But I could see Sid being in like a bar or something at Calm.
That's what I'm saying. Is like,
and then like hearing the group in the background, not even thinking it's gonna be anything, but just hearing them talking.
Like,
and
check it out. We made a Sid model for real guys. We're gonna do.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I could see that 100%. So one thing to talk about. I have zero clarity on this, besides the fact that if it is true, it makes zero fucking sense. But the scene where the sector falls, or the plate falls on Sector 7, and you see the reflection in Yuffie's eyes. Everybody says that reflection is Vincent. If you pause it and you look close, you can look up pictures of this right now. It looks like Vincent. It fucking looks like. You can definitely make Vincent out, but I think that's a lot more of us wanting that to be Vincent, so we're seeing it, versus whatever the fuck it was. But it is a very odd scene to transition to her eye. Or I will give them that.
I just thought it was fire.
But do you see
I see the thing that you could think is Vincent if you want it to be,
right?
Also, that makes no sense.
It makes no sense, exactly. Thank you.
And it's roughly the color of fire.
If I'll say this, obviously I want it to be Vincent because I would love to see Vincent, but we didn't get to see Vincent, so I would much rather it not be Vincent, and we get Vincent where we're supposed to fucking get Vincent, which is way down the road from now. So, with that being said, yeah. So there's that.
That's probably just like shit collapsing in front of fire.
Yeah, for sure. But you could definitely see how people could be like, it's Vincent. Like the first time we saw the trailer for Intergrade, they had that scene in the trailer, and that was the main thing trending on Twitter was, oh my god, Vincent's in fucking Intergrade. Like it didn't skip a fucking beat, dude. They were all over that shit. All over it. But, so moving on, the cutscenes. I fucking loved them, man. I fucking loved seeing the team talking the way they were talking, acting like an actual group of friends versus just this ragtag team that's together now. Like, it was awesome. Seeing Tifa showing Aerith how to fucking hitchhike was cool as shit. The Chocobo bothering the fuck out of Barrett was amazing, especially since we ended the Yuffie stuff with her singing or humming the Chocobo theme. And then for fucking Barrett to then start angrily humming the Chocobo theme was really fucking cool.
And
I wish
they're both the characters who sing the victory song too.
yes, they're both the characters that sing the victory song. Exactly. I do wish Red 13 would have had some lines. I kind of felt that it was awkward that he didn't talk at all. So,
quiet guy.
I mean, he is, to be fair, but still, I feel like he could have had some kind of input.
Didn't want to call that dude to come do voice acting.
I do like the relationship building that we're doing with Cloud and Aerith. As much as I am a Cloud Tifa fan, I do like the relationship building because that is true to the story. Like, Cloud definitely was crushing on Aerith before all that shit happened. So they're definitely building that up, hopefully, for the fact that they won't change the fact that Aerith dies. But we'll see what happens. But and I like that we got to see that we're going to Calm. Like, I feel like at the end of the first one, with all the shit we got hit with, the Zack scene, there was a lot of uncertainty of what was going to happen next. This was Square Enix going, we're sending you directly to the next location. You're going to start in Calm. Like, we're going to the second location. That's exactly how it happens in the game. Midgar, straight to Calm. So I'm super happy about that. I feel a lot better as far as moving forward with the I mean, not like I wouldn't, but just as from a standpoint of, being a fan, I feel a lot better that, we're kind of getting back on track with the story. There's a lot of Kingdom Hearts' shit at the end of the fucking first one. So
yeah,
that is what it is. We didn't have that with this, with the remake, thank God. Or with the Intergrade, thank God. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, I still think we kind of did. I mean,
with the one guy? I mean,
Nero showing up, like, that guy is very much like, reminds me of Ansem from Kingdom Hearts. He just keeps talking about darkness.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, that they had to rip the Band-Aid
and no one knows who he is. It's a very Final Fantasy thing also, just to have an antagonist throughout the game that you care about. Like, in this case, I'd say Scarlet, and then to just be like at the end, okay, now here's this other thing that you don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
That's the boss. Here, it's the end of Final Fantasy X, and you fought all the things you care about. Now here's this other thing we just told you about.
Right.
Here's X Death. Here's whoever Kuja gets replaced by in 9.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's just that's. I mean, but it didn't have the like bullshit timeline stuff for sure. Yes.
Yeah, no, for sure. They didn't muck up the timeline, so to speak, so far. So I'm happy with that. Now,
well, so is it not weird that these ground people are above ground if they were
they weren't though.
There until
they weren't though. They were still under deep ground in the facility. They were like down below. They were still in the facility. So they're still in lockdown. The thing is that fucking Scarlet led them down there on purpose. So that way she could then unleash that and just be done with them. Like, that was her whole thing, was like, I'm not going to let them get to higher, because that's where they're going to keep more of their actual like good materia, shit like that. Like her whole lab and stuff like that. She's going to force them down, thinking that that's where the shit that they need is.
It doesn't seem like they're really that constrained. Like, it seems like Nero can just get on that elevator now. Like, why?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it would be interesting for them to give us a reason on why he's kept in check. Like, who keeps Nero in check? Is it Weiss? Because if it's Weiss, who keeps Weiss in check? Because Weiss made it seem like nobody keeps him in check.
It seems like Scarlet had a button she could press to open a door somewhere. Yeah.
So, and if it is Scarlet, how did she get them? I mean, once again, that could have just been a thing where that was part of the deep ground facility that they were in, obviously. Yeah. And that whole section itself is completely locked off from the rest of the Shinra building. So even though he could technically, realistically go to an elevator, where's it going to go? For all we know, they've got like some kind of fucking clap fucking door that's just over that goddamn elevator, and it opens up whenever they're getting ready to go down. No,
it's going to go wherever Yuffie went, because Yuffie used it to get outside, right?
Ah, you right. Yuffie did use that, I guess.
It's just like, wait for the elevator to come back, dude.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said.
Yeah. Also, maybe he doesn't want to leave. that's
It's
because
possible.
his brother's there, and so he doesn't want to go outside. I don't know.
Possible. Yeah. Don't want to leave Weiss.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it would be nice for them to give. It would have been nice for them to give us some more clarification on the aftermath of that. But I mean, it kind of is what it is. I mean, there was only so
yeah.
much they're gonna do for a DLC. It's a DLC.
It's just like a
It's
weird
not a
thing still
game.
because Yuffie Yuffie knows this guy now, the hero or whatever, but doesn't really know what was going on. Necessarily.
Right.
Just it's a strange guy who showed up and now murdered my friend, but doesn't know like what a deep ground is or
Right.
anything.
Which makes sense. Yep. And honestly, it was one of those things too where, like I said, there just could have been more clarification. But it's a DLC. I mean, we can't ask too
Yeah,
much
and
out of a
it's
DLC.
like whatever, it's
Yeah.
all fine. It's just like, and for the person who played Dirge Cerberus, for the 13,000 of you or whatever, it's very exciting. Sure, to be like, oh hey,
I
look,
don't think anybody is excited about Dirge Cerberus emerging in
oh
this
really?
game. No, it was not well received. It was
Do
not
you
well
like that
received.
game?
Huh?
You like Dirge Cerberus?
I
Did you
liked
enjoy
it just because of Vincent's story. I didn't care about Deep
Yeah.
Ground at all. That was dumb. I mean, they had a lot of really cool CGI cutscenes because once again, it was after they did the movies, so they invested a little bit more in that. So like
Yeah.
seeing like Cloud and them show up because like the Crimson chick I was talking about, like Cloud takes her out at the end, and she sees Cloud riding in on Fenrir, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna take this guy out." She didn't know she was fucking with the boy. Like he jumped off that fucking motorcycle, came flying up at her, and she was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "Somebody about to get an Omni Slash on that ass." Don't even know yet. So, and then seeing Barrett and Tifa. I think the only person that we didn't see in Dirge was Red 13. Yeah, Red 13 wasn't in Dirge.
They
Everybody else
really,
was.
they really don't like giving Red 13 lines and
They
stuff.
don't, man. They fucking don't. Which is why I like the book On the Way to a Smile, because there is a whole chapter in there about Red 13. So that was really, really nice and kind of like, I mean, to be fair, when you read the book, it makes sense on why he wasn't there. Because in the book, Red 13 has seen all this horrible shit going on with humans, and his grandfather ends up dying, Boomagotten, which we knew was going to happen anyway. And so he goes to live life in the forest and wants to like just return, be an animal, and learn the laws of the forest. And he goes out there and he ends up seeing these two bear cubs that their mom is dead and these hunters killed them. And so Red 13 saves the cubs and gets them the hell out of there, and they end up treating him like the mom. So he ends up like raising these two cubs, like literally this is a whole thing. And fucking he has to end up seeing the whole cycle process again, where they get older, they end up wandering off, and then they end up finding this little boy. They think it's food, they go to attack, and then sure enough, Dad shows up with a gun, shoots, kills both the bears, and Red 13 is like, this is the law of the forest, and you can't alter it. Like what is going to happen is going to happen. So then he sees them being looked at like that, and they see him, and then he's like, holy shit, like they're trying to kill him now because he's just another beast. Like, this is the law of the forest. Here we go again. And so then that's whenever I love the conclusion to Red 13's story is he's trying to run. He's already damaged and shit. And he sees this village and he starts running to this village and he dives in through this window of this cabin trying to just get any kind of shelter. And there's all these people in there. And then he goes to move, and all of a sudden he gets a huge fucking shot to his leg as he's like growling at all these people. A huge fucking shot to his leg, and it fucking makes him start passing out. He looks up at where the shot came from, and you just see Vincent standing there. And man, Vincent felt like you were acting like a rabid animal. I had to put you down for a little bit. If I didn't do it, someone was going to put you down permanently. I was like, holy shit. So yeah, it was a very, very good fucking chapter. So that's what he was doing and why he wasn't there. But it's what it is, I guess. But yeah, so the book was really good. I still have yet to read the other one. There's another one called The Kids Are All Right. It's about the Turks and shit like that. So, and it's supposed to take place before. And it actually, the chick Kyrie,
That's where that one.
that's where she comes from. She's from that book. Yep. And there's someone else. Oh, the dude that helped Don Carino, the kid.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
He's supposed to be in there
I
too.
don't remember his name. Yeah.
Yep, I don't either. It started with like an L, I believe, but I'm not sure. I feel like it was an L. But either way, loser. That's who he is. So, that guy. But yeah. But, so since we're getting closer to time, we got to talk about the fucking Zack cutscene. This is what everybody wants to hear our fucking thoughts on. And honestly, guys, we don't have any. Nothing was given to us. Nothing was given to us.
It's just like
He walks in. calls
Oh,
Aerith's name, sees a shit ton of people there who are obviously taking refuge from the fact that Sector 7 fell. That's it. Like, we still don't know if this is an alternate timeline. We don't know if this is the same timeline and Zack got pulled from an alternate timeline into this timeline. We didn't see what happened with the cloud he was carrying. Nothing. We literally know nothing. That being said, I have a theory, and I would like to voice it here. And I've told JoJo this already.
Right. Yeah.
And I brought it up on the verdict, but I didn't actually tell you what the theory was. And I want to say here, so if it happens, I fucking called it. What I would like to see is that if this is an alternate timeline Zack, or an out of his timeline Zack, would be more correct here. So an out of his timeline Zack in the wrong timeline. We've already gotten the notion that Aerith is kind of putting pieces together as we move forward. Like she's kind of some kind of fucking time whisperer, fucking Doctor Who, whatever. So, that said, what I would like to see is that at some point we're going along the way that I could see this playing out is that we are going along and fixing the timeline the way it's supposed to be. And sooner or later, Zack is going to get to the party. And when he does, I would like it to be like he sees Aerith die. But he's nowhere near the team. Like all the way up in the background somewhere. And sees Sephiroth coming down and killing Aerith. I would like to see that happen. And then that right there is what reverts the timeline back to what it's supposed to be. Because now they don't have this clairvoyant, if you will, that's kind of helping them figure out and map where they're supposed to go through and where they're not supposed to go through, being the last agent. And then it rips Zack out of that timeline back to that fucking hill. And then dying on that hill. Kind of makes him a throwaway character. It really does. It really makes no sense for them to bring him back at all. Besides the fact of like Zack being... honestly, it's really kind of a dick move if you think about it. Because you bring a character back to life just so that way he can see the love of his life die and then put him back to die again.
Okay, well then here's my... that actually inspired me. Here's my take on it.
Alright, hit me.
Roughly you get to that same point where Sephiroth's going to kill Aerith. Zack gets there. Zack stops Sephiroth from killing Aerith.
Fuck no. No.
So that's the situation where she doesn't die. But my overall theory is still on this whole thing is that Aerith knows stuff is up with time and things, and will come to realize she has to die anyway. Like that's the thing that has to happen for all this to work out because she needs to be in the live stream or whatever.
Yep.
He knows that. So like we'll still get to that point. That's the thing where they do the fake out because they need a surprise. They need to surprise.
I will be
you,
stupid. I will be stupid upset if they do it that way, and here's my reason why. So, and this is the so when I first started doing a lot of Final Fantasy news, I got compared to a lot of different like people who cover Final Fantasy. Some people that I watch, which very flattering. But here's where we're different. They said their thoughts about Final Fantasy VII. They then got bullied because of their thoughts of Final Fantasy VII. So they now no longer cover Final Fantasy VII anymore. They're what I call casuals. I'm a fucking fan. I will say whatever I want to about 7. I've had death threats sent to me on Twitter because of shit that I've said about 7. And I will continue to talk about 7 because it's the shit that I like. And I don't give a fuck what your opinion is. Honestly, at the end of the day, unless you want to have a conversation about it. You want to have a conversation? Great. If you're just going to sit here and yell at me so you can be louder, fucking keep on walking. Could care less. Now, my problem with that is that Final Fantasy VII had a tone. And the tone was death.
Yeah.
That no matter what you do, sooner or later, death is lingering around that corner. Death is the ultimate punishment, but death is a necessary step. That takes that whole narrative out that they've already rebuilt back into the remake with the fall of the plate. That takes that whole thing out when Aerith has the choice. If she doesn't have the choice, it keeps that narrative moving forward. The moment she has the choice of, I have to die in order for this to happen, it then gets rid of the fact of death. Because then there's this whole nother situation where it destroys the crux of Cloud's character at that point. Because that was his turning point.
It's like Final Destination. It's like it's actually saying like you can't escape his death thing. It's just
I understand that, but the problem is that the way it was all set up, that's like the crux of Cloud's character. Like you even see that in the movie, Moving On, whenever he keeps running back into her, and it's like, but I let you die. She's like, but it doesn't matter. You were still there. You came, and that's all that matters. They can't reset that up again after a fake out of Sephiroth just either falling and missing her, or Zack slaying Sephiroth upstairs and it being a fucking Genova clone, because it is a Genova clone. Like, it does it's gonna destroy that narrative 100%.
I think there's a way they could do it where, I mean, it just becomes a different thing then, for sure. But like, it's still. Isn't there some implication in the original game? Maybe I'm making this up. That Aerith sort of knows.
There is an implication that Aerith knows that she shouldn't go there by herself. Because the whole time you're playing the game, Cloud is Aerith's bodyguard. That's what she calls him the entire time. Bodyguard. She knows that if she's not with Cloud, she's significantly more at risk. She also knows that there are people after her. She knows this. She's dealt with it her entire life. So once again, there's the risk. That's the reason why Shinra was such a big faction in the first place, was because, yeah, they're trying to go after Sephiroth, but ideally they want their hands on Aerith. They need Aerith back. So that's why Shinra was such a big pain in the ass in the first game to begin with, or in the original, should I say, to begin with. So she knows that if she leaves, there could be severe repercussions. So she knows she's going to die? No. Because she thinks she's going to the holy place of her people to commune with the planet to figure out what the next steps are. Her plan was not to die. But she knew the risk. She knew that there was a chance to die. Cloud knew that she was going to die, but that was the dream he had when she was already gone.
Okay.
Because Cloud wakes up after passing out after giving Sephiroth the black materia, after they blow up the fucking Temple of Ancients, when Kate says sacrifices himself, and then the new one just shows up within fucking 20 seconds of that happening, going, hey, don't worry, I'm not actually dead, I'm Kate 2.0, da 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 da. Anyways, so that being said, he passes out, and he has that dream about her talking about the forest and the fact that she's leaving. Now, we've already seen a flashback of that dream. This is where everybody starts getting confusing. I feel like we're fucking a conspiracy theorist fucking podcast at this point. This is where shit starts getting confusing, because we've seen a flashback, a small little snip of that exact dream already in the remake.
Okay.
Whenever she meets back up with you after you dropped her off at home and you were going to walk the rest of the way by yourself, and then she shows back up just like she did in the original. Remember, she goes to walk away and Cloud has that flash, like that headache, and then he sees like a real quick glimpse of her walking through a forest. That's that dream from the original. Yeah. That is that exact dream, and that's her walking away, and that's the last time he sees her in his mind, is her walking away through that forest. So he trails behind her to get to where she was going, and that's whenever he shows up, and then he goes to kill her because he's being brainwashed by Genova. Or Sephiroth, should I say. And then he ends up breaking that fucking spell, and that's whenever Genova takes matters into her own hands and comes down as a Sephiroth clone and kills her anyway.
Yeah. I guess I don't know necessarily if the thing I'm suggesting is going to go great. It just seems like I feel like with the fact that they added all this weird shit going on, there's no way this leads to just essentially the scene where Aerith dies, Aerith dying. I feel it needs to. I don't think they're planning that, I guess. Regardless of what I think is a good idea, I feel like that can't be what they're going for.
I get what you're saying, and I feel it needs to. In order, because once again, when you think of Final Fantasy VII, besides Cloud and the Buster Blade, like, I can guarantee you, if you were to say, name one scene from Final Fantasy VII, 10 out of 10 times going to be the Aerith death scene.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 times. There's no way they're going to change something that iconic. There's just no way. The
bravest thing that these guys can do is to then not give you that.
Sure, like, that is brave, but very stupid.
Like, that's the thing. Like, already you're doing all this shit with ghosts or whatever, and Zack being a lot, like, clearly they're trying to fuck with it somehow. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I do agree with you that Zack being brought back to life just to die again is a throwaway. But
Yeah.
let me give you this scenario, and this is my real thought process on why we have Zach. I think we have Zach purely for Crisis Court material.
Maybe.
I think we're going to see a lot more of stuff with Zach where like he shows up trying to follow the team and figure out where they're at and going to the place that they're going to. And instead of us actually seeing him getting there, it's going to be like he's going to walk through, like let's say Gongaga, for instance. He's going to walk through, see Gongaga, do a flashback, and then we're going to play as Zach actually doing the shit that he was doing when he was there the first time versus him being there now. And that will be our way to experience Crisis Core throughout the game.
Okay, the only reason I guess I would say I don't think that's happening is because this is already taking them 80 years to make all these games, and so I don't know if they have like resources to throw all that extra.
A lot of
in.
Crisis Core shit could technically just be thrown out because it was literally a game that was made just to prolong or just to give you something behind Zach. A lot of that could be simplified.
Yeah.
Very easily to turn that into like a 5 DLC thing. Like easily. Because we're going to see Genesis again. It's going to happen. That could be the whole thing why Zach is back.
Oh,
Instead of what you just said, it could be something where fucking Genesis finds out that Sephiroth is still alive and then tries to go to Sephiroth and ends up running into Zach, and Zach and Genesis end up killing each other. Then for allowing the timeline to continue the way it's supposed to be, where Sephiroth, or not Sephiroth, but Genova shows up, turns into Sephiroth, and kills Aerith. Because at the end of Crisis Core, we saw Genesis's body get picked up by 2 people who were wearing Turk suits. We didn't see their faces. And he got brought onto a Shinra plane and flown out, and they confirmed that he was still alive. And we haven't seen anything since then. This game takes place, obviously, after Crisis Core. Right. So this could be Zack coming back to finish that saga completely by finally taking out Genesis. And it could be the death of him as well. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But I don't know. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. And it makes me on the edge of my seat because I just want to fucking play it and get there. Especially with it being like my favorite thing, you know?
And we're not going to know anything about it for
a while.
Like year and a half until we even see a trailer for that thing.
A fucking while.
Yeah.
But that being covered, now the last part. Final Fantasy 16. Unfortunately, we got 0 news at E3. A lot of people wanted it. I do have confirmed rumors that this game has been in production for almost 5 years now. They did actually come out and talk about that. So the chance of a 2021 timeline might actually be more realistic than I originally thought it was. Not saying it's going to happen. I still purposely see the beginning. I see the end of Square Enix's physical year of 2021, which is the beginning of the first quarter of 2022. Or that would be January, February, March. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The end of the first quarter of 2022. That I see realistically. I don't see it happen in 2021, but now knowing that information, I could see it 20. It wouldn't surprise me now if it came out 2020. Like if I didn't have that information, and then all of a sudden like fucking Final Fantasy 16 is gonna be here for Christmas, I'd be like, fucking how? How did they just pop that out of their ass? Is this game even gonna be good? Like it felt like nothing. But now knowing that makes a little bit more sense because I knew for sure it had been in production already. I didn't know it was like 5 years already at this point.
Oh yeah.
So
I bet they wanted it to come out this year, and if not for COVID, maybe that would have been the case.
Maybe it would happen.
But I bet it's next year, right?
I can agree with that. That's fair. But
because they put that trailer out early last year. When was it? How long ago was that? Late last year?
It was like mid-year, I believe.
Mid-year. So it was something that they got to a point before COVID and were right, like, yeah, let's reveal this thing, and then. Fucked up for a year, so I bet,
Right. So I was having a conversation with a Dark Star fan, and we were talking about Final Fantasy. We were specifically talking about 14, and then we started talking about 16. We started talking about fucking chaos as well. But, that fucking whole spiel. Anyways. That being said, they did point out. I'm gonna go ahead and give a shout out. Radikins, pretty cool dude. Radikins pointed out that it would be cool to see a DMC Final Fantasy mashup. I was like, I agree with you, but I don't think it should be done by Team Ninja. That's my problem here. Like, I don't hate Team Ninja. I love the Ninja Gaiden series. It's fucking great.
Right.
But I am not excited for this Final Fantasy Origins, like, in the slightest. So, we'll see what happens. I didn't play the demo, but we'll see what happens. Now, what was said, though, they think based off of how the dialogue was done in the trailer for 16, that this could very well be the last Final Fantasy to deal with crystals. And I don't know about that. I feel like 16 games, you're pretty fucking dug in at that point. You know, like,
Yeah.
there's some games where it's not as relevant, right? 7, perfect example. 7's a
Right.
perfect example of crystals not being as relevant, but they kind of are with Materia. That's basically what they did with Materia. It was basically a switch of that. Like, before then, it's more of like you learn these spells from books and scrolls and shit, and then they just kind of took like, and the crystals are still what's giving you all this power, and now it's like crystals being formed from the earth that give you power to be able to shoot spells, and it's the same shit. It's literally the same shit. Basically what Materia is. So, that being said, I don't know, man. I feel like at 16 fucking games, 16 to move away from crystals, like, because I know what he's talking about. It's easily my favorite part of the trailer, where it goes to the part where they start doing the hyped up fucking music of the trailer, and you see Ifrit and Phoenix fucking clash, and you hear Clive go, "The history of the crystals has plagued us for far too long," or something like that.
Yeah.
So, or the power of the crystals, or something like that. So I understand what he's saying there. I
Right.
don't think it pertains to the series.
No,
I
you're
think
taking
it's
a meta
going to pertain
implication from
just
something
to
where
that-
this guy
to
is
that
talking
game.
about his own universe.
Now, to be fair, they didn't actually apply it to that, because we're still having the conversation and we're on 2 completely different time zones. So it'll be like 2 o'clock in the morning when this conversation resumes. But anyways, that being said, I it would be interesting if like 6, because I mean, think about it this way. So something that I read, an article I read, which I think was pretty good, was whenever you look at Final Fantasy 15, right? Whenever it first came out, it was known as Final Fantasy 13 Versus. Everybody hated Final Fantasy 13 for some reason. I like Lightning as a character.
I love that
She's
game.
a great character. Yeah, I have 0 issues with 13 personally. But I do understand where some people could say it went on for too long. It had 3
Right.
versions.
People have beef with how linear it was. There's a lot of just walking
Correct. Right,
straight.
exactly.
Yeah, I get it, but also
I get it as well, but it's a good game. Exactly, great character. Like, I like that. It's female Cloud. I mean, let's be honest. Like, it's literally what it is. What's hard to like about Lightning. Anyways, so that being said, with 15 not being finished, we all know that 15 was not actually finished. It's been what, 4, 5, 6 years now since we've had like an actual Final Fantasy added in. If you don't consider 14, obviously, because that's an MMO, and you don't
And
really
also
consider 15 because it wasn't fucking finished. It's like, it's been a while since we've had like an actual Final Fantasy. For that one to be the one that's like, now moving forward, whatever 17 is going to be a more modern, non-crystal based game. I don't see it.
I mean, also,
I don't
like
see it.
13, I believe, it talks about crystals a whole bunch, I think, and is also the most
16
modern,
is heavy on it, dude.
but it's like the most
Heavy.
futuristic things. There's no, I don't think anyone there knows what the hell a Final Fantasy 17 even is. I don't think they're thinking about that.
No. I mean, so
of
far
how-
from the laydown that I've seen, the way that Square Enix has broken their Final Fantasy division up now is you have a division that is dedicated to 14, the continuation of online, so DLC, because Endwalker's not going to be the end. Yoshi P even said that. Endwalker is the end of this story.
Yes.
14's still going to be around. We still have to bring you content. You're not just going to keep playing 14 with no new content. And he's like, I can see myself working on 14 for another 10 years, is literally what he said.
Right?
So 14 is still going on.
That's real. No, they're due actually, because now the thing is 11. It was 11. Then it's 14. 17 has to be another MMO. It's every 3.
You think so?
I mean, not really, but
No, there's no way, dude. 14 was such a hit out of the park. I
14 is
highly
doing
doubt
very
that they
well.
go to another
It
one.
would
Yeah.
be a mistake.
It would be, yeah, yeah. You might as well just do the continuation. So, like I said, one department that's for the continuation of online. Then we also have another department that's for the continuation of remakes, because they already said once they're done with 7, they want to start looking realistically at other Final Fantasy titles that they can do remakes to. Which
for
I
40
don't
years
think.
from now.
Yeah, 40 years from now for sure. Well, and it could be a thing that once they. This is the issue. So if they get a lot of the game built in as far as the map and the characters, it's going to move faster. There's no ifs,
Sure.
ands, buts about it. There's a lot they had to build in to begin with, and now that they kind of have like a little bit of structure, it will be faster. I mean, I still think we're going to get part 2 the end of 2022 to the end of 2023. Honestly, it's not going to
Yeah, I
take
think
5 years for us to get fucking part 2.
2020
It's not going to happen. Yeah,
probably,
2022
yeah.
to 2023, 100%, 100%. We will see it within that holiday season to holiday season. We will see it sometime in between there, from 2022 to
fair.
2023.
Yes, yeah.
100%. So, so with that being said, then you also have the last addition to their company, which is the continuation of Final Fantasy. Just moving forward. What is interesting to me is how much the directors cross. That's where I feel it gets muddy. We have Yoshi P, who's easily the top dog in the online section. Tetsuya Nomura, who's easily now the top dog in the remake section.
Yeah.
And whoever the fuck is over the fucking continuation, I can't remember the dude's name, is over the continuation of the Final Fantasy series. Has now literally done almost a complete spin to where Yoshi P is completely overseeing 16. The guy that's over there is completely overseeing the remake with Tetsuya Nomura, who is also spending a shit ton of his time on this new fucking Origin bullshit from Team Ninja.
Right.
And
Kingdom Hearts and shit,
and
like,
Kingdom Hearts. It's like fucking A. There's just too much cross. I feel like if we didn't have so much cross, we probably would be getting these games a little bit quicker, honestly. But
I bet that there's someone up higher up who, like, after 15 was like, hey, maybe Nomura, what if you do something else? What if we don't let you control the main game and we give it to this guy who can hit deadlines? The guy who can finish a product, the Yoshi,
Yeah.
whatever, like,
yeah,
they gave that
Yoshi
to
wasn't
Nomura for a
15,
long
was
time.
he?
Oh, I'm saying that's why you give 16 to him.
Oh, 16 to Yoshi.
Finishes
Yeah.
stuff. And Nomura, who does things for 30 years, you know, like, obviously Versus 13 was announced so long ago, and then became, and Type 0 was, whatever. I mean, yeah. So I bet, you know, someone up there who makes decisions is probably tired of Nomura shit
Yeah, that's fair.
on some level.
I mean, he's just spread
or
too
just
thin,
crap
and
with
he just
Yoshi. Yeah.
doesn't say it. Like, I mean, I would hate to see Tetsuya Nomura walk away from Final Fantasy, but I think he would be so much happier just being able to just work on Kingdom Hearts. Personally.
I gotta wonder, like, there's stuff. I don't know how much work he necessarily has to do on something like Final Fantasy Origins. It's just like, I don't know, he shows up, he draws a guy in a shirt, and is like, what if he's angry? And just leave.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I don't think he
He's
has
there for
too
a
much
week.
on that either. I think he's more just overseeing the project versus
Yeah.
actually like being a big, heavy part of the project. So I agree with you on that one. But still, I mean, it's still taking time away from stuff like the remake or whatever the fuck is happening on in Kingdom Hearts world that's going to come out next. So,
Yeah.
which we have no idea. So,
I mean, I think The World Ends With You is his also when they're making another one of those games, you know, next
Yeah.
month.
I don't know.
I mean, they should let fucking Yoko Taro. They should let the Nier guy do Final Fantasy 17.
Think so?
That to him. Fucking Nier Automata is incredible. Like, so. Like,
I haven't played it yet. I actually haven't touched any of the Niers. That's actually
I mean, that's
my
one
my.
I
Yeah,
found
that's
that
actually my
remake
next
of-
thing on my list after the after playing through the Final Fantasy series. That's the next thing on my list. So
Nier Automata is really, really.
I've heard nothing but fucking great things about Nier.
Yes.
So I'm
So,
super
like-
fucking pumped to play it.
You know, Yoko Taro Final Fantasy would be like a different thing. So that would be very interesting.
I mean, I'm super pumped for 16. I mean, honestly, it's going back to medievalish type roots. I mean, I'm all about that. Like, I love the medieval shit. I'm all for that. I can't tell you how excited. One thing I did see on a message board that I strongly disagree with is everybody's like, I don't want to play as Kid Clive. Why do we keep playing as kids in Final Fantasy games? I really don't think there's that many Final Fantasy games where we play as kids. I really don't.
It's like 18-year-olds or something.
I mean, even if we were to count back, 15, those were young adults. 100% young adults. 20s, mid-20s, possibly getting closer to late or early 30s.
No, they're 20-somethings.
Yeah, for sure. 13, for sure, mainly adults. That one chick was
it's
probably,
like every party has
ordering.
like one kid.
Yeah, exactly. The only one that I could think of that's like actually kids was what, 3? Like the whole group was 3?
Yeah,
it was all orphans.
There's stuff, like the characters in 9 look pretty small, but like
they're not.
They're 18-ish probably or something. For sure.
Yuffie's the only one, and as you said, usually almost every group has at least one underage person. I mean, 7 had Yuffie, so that's another one. 7, they're all adults. 8, they're all adults.
Yeah, 10 has Riku. 9
10,
is
10
4 has
exactly.
little twin kids.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just and in my opinion, I mean, nothing wrong with adult Clive, but young Clive looks badass as fuck. I love his character model. I want a statue of him like ASAP, like 100%. Put his ass up there with Cloud. Clive is a badass dude. I'm super pumped for Clive. So
yeah, no, I'm excited. I want to see what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna play the fuck out of that game, dude. Oh, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I will say what's cool, though, is like I was playing the Yuffie DLC, and I was sitting there streaming it, and I had my daughter with me. And it's just really cool that, like, me growing up with video games, that's what I was watching my dad doing, was playing Final Fantasy VII. Like, that's what got me into video games. And my daughter's going to grow up watching me play the remake to my favorite fucking game. Like, that's fucking cool as shit. That's like, whenever you talk about circle complete, like, that right there is fucking circle complete, dude. Like, that's fucking cool as shit to me. And obviously, 16 is going to be in there too, to play the fuck out of that game. But it's just really cool that, like, she's literally going to be able to watch me play the fucking remake to the game, because it's going to be coming out as she's growing up. So, you know, so we've got that to look forward to for the next, like, possibly 8 to 12 years. It's Final Fantasy 7 parts. So
it will be completed first. Will your child become an adult, or will Final Fantasy VII remake
be done? Like I said, as long as it's finished before I die, dude, I'm good to go. Yeah. But before we wrap this up, JoJo, did you have anything else to cover on Intergrade?
Oh, that character, in Avalanche, the girl Neo. Her shirt is stupid. It's like half a shirt, and then it's like straps at the bottom. They get wrapped into her belt for some reason. So her shirt is attached to her belt, which is also attached to her skirt. It's a mess.
That's it.
That's all.
JoJo here with the Final Fantasy fashion. It's actually kind of funny. I've noticed that almost every time me and you talk about Final Fantasy, you bring up something fashion related with one of the characters, whether it's the belts or the straps.
That's how you know Sonam also was worthless, like was just boring, is because he had a basically perfectly symmetrical outfit. Every Final Fantasy character it's like, Cloud has one shoulder thing, Yuffie's got her weird arm thing, Titus has one pant leg. Sonam is just wearing clothes. That's how
fair.
It phoned it in.
What I also thought is pretty cool about the Final Fantasy VII characters, because it's not just, it doesn't just stop with obviously Cloud, as you said. It's pretty much almost every character.
Yeah.
If you look at it, it's kind of like he has this situation where your right is for your attack and your left is for your defense. So Cloud has the pauldron and the arm guard on the left arm. If you look at Tifa, she has the elbow guard on her left arm, and then her feet, her boots, have left plate attached to her boot for guard. Okay. Yuffie's arm thing is her left. Vincent's gauntlet technically has 2 of them, but he's also a back character. Like, every single one of them is something like Barrett's left arm is his gun. Wait, that's not right. No, his right arm is his gun, because
he just kind of looks like a guy.
Yep. So, and then what was it? Fucking the headdress hangs to the left for Red 13. or to the right. His right eye's out, so obviously that's where he would normally go for like attacking and shit. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool to look at. So
Yeah, it's just like a thing, seeing enough Nomura character designs at some point.
yeah, because it's like all the characters who are ranged, technically considered ranged in the back, they don't really have the defense, but the characters that you would see up front and fighting, they've got like this defense all down the left side, which I thought was pretty cool. So
Yeah, I'm looking at Sonam right now, and he's got like arm guard things on both arms.
yeah,
He's got fully normal pants. He's got like maybe one extra. No, because it's just the only thing that makes him even slightly not symmetrical is like just the way the strap of the thing holding his staff to his back goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's how you know that guy had to die.
His fashion didn't like match up.
Honed in guy.
His fashion didn't match up. He had to go.
Yeah.
God damn it. Yep. The suit must look good or you're out of the game. That's what's up.
Kinda.
Dude. That's what's up. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, turn on those notifications. That way you get notified next time we upload another video. Obviously, as more Final Fantasy stuff comes out, you will see me and JoJo back on here talking about more Final Fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
With that being said, once again, comment. That's the best way that you can support the channel. Don't know why, but that's YouTube's algorithm. Comment. We like to have conversations, so go ahead, jump down there and comment. Make sure that you also check out our links in the description below. We got Twitters and Twitches. I know for a fact I'm going to be hitting Twitch pretty hard here. There's going to be some schedule updates going on with that as well. Super pumped about. And that's where you can kind of see my whole continuation of me going through the Final Fantasy series, which I'm super pumped about. We are currently about, I'd say about a fourth of the way through 3 at this point. So, we're moving on. Slow pace, had some surgeries and shit that popped up, and that kind of took, time away from being able to stream, but we're back. So that being said, like I said, make sure you go check that stuff out. The Dead Funny Twitter, we're getting a lot more active with other YouTube channels and stuff like that too. You could see some collabs coming down the turnpike. At this point, a lot of you know, because the news has officially been released, that Joey has stepped away from Darkstar, and I just wanted to go ahead and say that for any of you who are watching this, who are worried about Dead Funny, this does not impact Dead Funny, first off. Second off, I know that I know. But just because I came from Darkstar, it's like, oh, what does this mean for Dead Funny? Sure. Nothing. But I do want to say, for those of you who have not read the Patreon message, Tony's still going to be putting in work. He's still planning on the channel going, and he's going to be putting in a lot of work. And one of the things that he did say that I thought was pretty cool was that, he gave a shout out to Dead Funny, that, we could still be doing collab work and stuff like that together. And I just want people to know that door is always open on this side as well. So you could see Tony on some episodes. I know we got Demon Slayer Season 2 is going to be coming out. I'm pretty sure we're going to do a review show for that and do our thoughts and views on it. We got Season 4 of My Hero Academia on a wrap coming up. Or is this 4 or 5? I didn't know. This is 5. Yeah, Season 5. Shit. Season 5 finishing up. We always do a review show after every season. Obviously, we'll have that coming out and stuff like that too. So that door's always open as well. Wish him nothing but love. So if you haven't checked out Darkstar, the description, or not the description, there's a link on the homepage of Dead Funny and our BFFs. It's the only other channel there right now. That might expand. Who knows? We'll see. Like I said, got some collabs coming around the corner, which I'm pretty excited about. Not going to get into yet, but we'll talk about those whenever they get closer. That being said, like I said, go check him out. I know he's got a lot of shit on his plate, and he's still wanting to pump out awesome content for you guys. So make sure you go check him out, show him some love, some subscribes, some likes, all that fun stuff. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next time.